So back in the early 40s, my mother and father were a young couple and they had 3 small children. They struggled financially. My father was always employed. He worked in a factory and made a regular wage, but it was never enough to meet all of their financial obligations. And one day my mother heard a sermon about tithing. And she told my father that they needed to start tithing. Well, my father, I wouldn't say he was closed to the idea, but he just didn't think they could afford it. Looking at the natural circumstances, there was no way they could take more money out of their budget to give to the church. But my mother was the budget person in the family, and she managed all of the household budget. So unbeknownst to my dad, she started taking the tithes out first thing when the paycheck came home and paying the tithes, and then handled all of the other bills. And right from the beginning, from what she told me, things changed. Pretty soon, my father started getting raises. And then he got a promotion with a raise, and that was followed by other promotions as well. And before too long, they were able to start saving money in addition to paying their tithes and meeting all their financial obligations. She always emphasized that she believed that it was God blessing her obedience to His word in the subject of tithing. And that was how she always presented it to me. And I was probably about 5 or 6 when she first started talking to me about this. And I believed her right away. It somehow witnessed in my heart as well. And I started tithing on my allowances. In fact, ended up being more than a tithe, because I would get a dime and I'd put a nickel of it into the Sunday offering plate. So I did that all through the years. When I started babysitting, I tithed on my babysitting earnings. When I worked as a waitress during college, I tithed on those earnings. When I got my first real job, important job, I tithed on that as well. Both my mother and I have known the joy of supporting God's work, because there has been joy in making this a part of our lifestyle. One thing I want to emphasize is I'm not talking about some dodgy wealth and prosperity doctrine. What I'm talking about is being obedient to God's word. I'm not saying give God money and He's going to make you wealthy. I'm talking about be obedient to God's word and return to Him what's His that He asks for, and that He'll continue to bless you for that. The difference between those two things is really an attitude of the heart. And I know that God can do for you what He'll do for us if you just reach out in faith and keep your heart right about it.